And this can be as broad as you want to make it. But again, being 1 year out, what would you recommend to students right now going through vet school? What would be one of the biggest recommendations you have for them?
Oh my gosh, have fun. I was so focused on studying all the time. I had classmates who would always be like, let's go to the beach. And I'm like, no, we have that test on Monday. It'd be like Friday. And I missed out on quite a lot. And it was really because I felt like I had to study so much. And I think a lot of that had to do with just having imposter syndrome. I struggled with that so much my 4 years at St. George's, and especially my first year. And so that really just like drained me all the time. I mean,
Mm.
my husband will tell you now that there were so many times he would get a FaceTime call from me and he's like, I know Genesis is calling me. She's about to start crying about something. She has a test soon. So I I would encourage to have as much fun as you can. Participate in how many ever events that you can and join clubs and just get to know your class and not stick with like just the same group all the time. And then also just like maybe not stay so focused on one area of vet med and just expand and learn about different things and just be very open-minded, I would say.
I definitely relate to I just studied all the time. And that is also a piece of advice I give people. And you said that you think it could be imposter syndrome. And I want to kind of dig into that just a little bit. So go with me here.
Yeah.
And you may not know the answer to this question, but why do you think you had imposter syndrome your first year?
Yeah. Well, I know.
Oh, okay, good.
So, well, I think I know. Maybe I'll have a revelation later on in my career too. But since I took 2 gap years and, my first year, I got waitlisted at 2 schools in the US and then denied from 3. And I got into St. George's. And I was like, let me just do another year and let me see what happens. Like, I'm young. Let me just see if I can get in somewhere. So my second year, it was kind of the same situation. And I was like, okay, I got accepted again to St. George's. Like, I think this is a sign, like, I should just go. So I went and I had been out of school 2 years and I completely forgot how to study. I couldn't figure it out. I was struggling, like keeping up in class, and I just was overwhelmed all the time. I was like, I just don't know if I can do this. And so I got into my head and I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like, there's just no way. I don't know why I thought that I could go to vet school. I was kind of refusing to like go see, like, we had like a counselor, not a counselor, but someone who could help you with study habits and things like that. I was like, I don't need that. I just need to like apply myself and figure it out on my own. And it just spiraled down all the way to my first semester when it came to finals. I don't remember how many tests I failed, but I was on the border of having to repeat that semester. And I remember feeling like I'm starting to get emotional right now, but I remember feeling like I was like I just wasn't going to be cut out for this. And I would talk to my husband about it and I'd be like you really don't understand. Like, you don't understand how many hours I spend studying. And like, it does not matter how long I spend studying, I still go into that test thinking that I'm going to fail this. And so he would listen to me and he contacted Dr. Madden and he was like, hey, can you please give Genesis a call? Like, she needs to hear it from you that she's going to make it and she's going to be okay. And so sure enough, it was like the night before my last final and I get a call from Dr. Madden and he just like casually checks in on me. He's like, hey, how are things going? I'm like, it's okay. We're in finals and, I'm struggling a little bit, but I'll be okay. And he kind of just gave me this pep talk and he told me everything that I needed to hear in that moment. And he was like, you need to realize that like, you don't need to ace all these exams. You don't need to lose yourself over this. He's like, you're smart enough, like you can do it. And I know it's really hard right now, but just imagine, how rewarding it's going to be in the end. And I constantly think back to my first year and where I was at, and just my progression year by year. And although by my fourth year I still had imposter syndrome, it was like significantly less than my first year, because I realized that, like, yeah, I am smart enough and I can apply myself, and I don't need to kill myself studying over these things, because some of this is, I know it. I know it. And so it was just like telling myself those things. Occasionally I will slip back into imposter syndrome, but that's mainly because you'll have these complicated cases, multiple comorbidities, things like that. And it just gets jumbled in my head. And then, the pet might not be getting better. And you just try everything you can. I've realized that sometimes you just, despite what you do, no matter how much effort you put into and whatever treatment and whatever last resort you're at, sometimes that's good enough. Like that's all you can do. And I guess just speaking off of that, I had one case in my first year, and within my first like 3 months, where it was a similar case and where we had all these things, and I just and I was trying everything I could. And we got to a point of euthanasia, and I was devastated. Like, I think it was my first euthanasia, actually. I felt like a failure at that point. I called my mentor at that time, and I was just like crying. I was sobbing. And she was like, Genesis, like, you need to realize that sometimes it's a success when you like have a euthanasia. Like, you're putting that pet out of its pain. And she was like, you need to view it in a good light sometimes. And so that really stuck out to me. And that kind of something that I keep in the back of my head.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can definitely tell
I
that
threw a lot at you.
you did. No, I love it.
I didn't expect that.
No, that's awesome. One of the interesting things about vet school as well is where most of us are in our 20s, and that is such a big moment in our lives. And I think we have imposter syndrome at all ages, except maybe like the
Yeah.
really little ones,
Yeah.
when we just want Cheerios.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so glad that you can look back and see your growth and be proud of yourself and acknowledge, even though you still have moments where, you have to kind of talk to yourself or find your support system, that you've really grown. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's huge. And yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today without those people, who were my cheerleaders all throughout, vet school, and even prior to. My dad and my mom, for sure, were people who always believed in you. And yeah, your parents should always believe in you, but like, my mom and my dad were like, yes, you're going to go places. Like, and my dad was very hard on me as a child growing up. And I always used to be like, why are you so hard on me? But you're not as hard on Daniel, who's my younger brother. And I'm convinced it's because I mentioned that I wanted to be a vet early on, and he was like, we're going to get you there. So I look back and I'm like, thanks, Dad. Thanks for, kind of giving me that pressure, because I realize that I kind of do need that pressure, like that slight, that little voice in the back of your head that's like, hey, here's the expectation, and I know you can meet it. And sometimes that can be a bad thing, but sometimes it's a really good thing too, because it kind of motivates me to get to that level.